Right, YouTube, welcome to part 3 of why Rosario Vampire needs an anime reboot instead of a season 3. Uh, so, I recently talked about how they completely omitted numerous chapters of season 1 and just rushed into season 2. How they screwed up the character development of Kokua and part of her personality, along with other characters such as Saizao, Sorara, and Agaha. Well, let's talk about another factor. This is a huge problem with me, especially since I really like this character. Let's talk about Kurumu. In the anime, Kurumu has little to no development, and they hardly even focus on her outside of just being the girl with the big boobs who just offers fan service. And that's a bit of a problem. As the manga established how Kurumu, she is the big boob girl and has been known for fan service. I've even done my own personal inner meme joke of Kurumu's ass shots that Akihisa did in the manga. But there was more to her character. We saw her transition from being this girl who mostly thought about herself and getting the attention and affections of boys to this girl who's loyal to her friends and will do anything for them. We also never got to the part where she actually developed her illusion powers, which was early in season 1, and we've never. And this was part of her powers. This was also very essential since it was used to help fight some of the other monsters, such as Aqua. That was and Kahlua. That was really necessary. And how this was also helped team up Mizre and Kurumu's skills together. That was a huge problem. But let's go on, show. Then we get some more filler, which really was not much worth talking about. And then we cut to the whole Skune heading back to his home, and his mother meets the girls. Now, that was a funny episode, and it still had some of the development. But the problem is that this happened in season 1, at the very end of almost the very end of season 1, and on top of that, they had Kyo, or was it Kyoko, appear as there as well. And this was supposed to be the reason why she suspects something is up with Yokai Academy, because the girls were doing strange things, especially showing strengths and feats that no human can do. Except the problem with that is that was another responsible thing that Hitomi Ishigami did. She was the one that informed Kyo of Yokai Academy and how she could get in there. And I don't recall how she was able to get in there since Yokai in the anime, because Yokai Academy is supposed to be off the grid. And that's why Hitomi Ishigami was so essential. She had to help her locate it. And which leads to problems later on in the anime, but we'll get back to that later. The other bit is with when Mizre takes her friends and Skune to the Snow Village, and it's all a ploy to get Skune in the sack and more or less start grandkids and blah 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 for Sorara, who was also in on this, and yada yada yada. And eventually this leads to this whole other crazy shenanigans, and this leads to this one moment where Kokua and Skune talk, and Kokua says that she hates Skune because he's the one that can uh, release Mocha's true self and make her inner Mocha instead of her, and that she can never learn to like him. Yeah, that's. I've already explained my problems with that, so I'm not going to go into that. And eventually they get chased by this Yeti, who ends up just being Mizure's dad in disguise. Yeah. In the manga, we never got to meet Mizure's dad. And yes, she did eventually take the gang to her home, but this was for a much greater purpose. The reason why Mizure, it explained why Mizure is so obsessed about Skune and so urgent to sleep with him. It's because she has this her species has a very limited time to reproduce once they reach a certain age, due to their snow woman physiology. They only have when they turn the age of 17, they only have another extra 17 years to reproduce, or they become barren. They're no longer able to reproduce any longer. Which ended also, that same story arc also led to the introduction of Fairy Tail and their organization and their plans to start alliances with other monsters and in an attempt to wipe out humanity. And that was also our first introduction to Fujisaki Miyabi, aka Dracula. So that was a lot of things omitted in the Squandered Potential. Now, granted, that probably that episode probably came before that specific chapter happened, and so I probably cut it some slack. Though if it didn't, that's going to cause another problem. Especially since that was also the first introduction of Kahlua. And this was also been a good opportunity since this would have shown that Mocha would have been fighting an opponent who can not only go toe to toe with her, but could potentially kill her. Since we didn't even see that with any other monsters in the anime, with the exception being Kuyo, but that was because Mocha was weak from giving Skune her blood. So that was another big problem. And then we got some more filler, which is not really important. And then we cut to the Lilith arc, where I've already said that Hitomi Ishigami was very, very integral to that part. But they completely omitted her out. So the whole Lilith arc thing is started by Kokua in one of her schemes to get the inner Mocha. But she runs into Kia, and they end up switching packages, and she gets her rice balls, I believe, and Kyo gets Lilith's mirror. And it roughly follows the same story, but they changed it to that Lilith was the final villain of that arc instead of Hitomi Ishigami, and she unleashes her true power to fight a weakened inner Mocha, and they have the girls try to fight Lilith blindfolded, which starts off with this stupid gag, and Kyo has to direct them so they can beat her. Yeah. There was a lot of that was really squandered. And one of the bigger problems with that is that it not only ruined pretty much the the whole point of having Hitomi Ishigami in there and pretty much destroying just how much of an impact she had on the story. It also missed the part about Irumaka coming with her true feelings about Tsukune, of how she felt about Tsukune, whether to keep distant because she felt that dating him, a mere human, was beneath her. And on top of that, she felt responsible. I mean, she was still dealing with grief for being responsible for making Tsukune a vampire, and also a ghoul who lost control during the Antithesis arc and nearly killed one of the members, and would have went berserk. And that was another thing they messed up. Then they had the whole destruction of the Great Barrier, which would have led the whole monsters encountering humans and would have led to the Great War. But that was started by Hokuto Kaneshiro and his Antithesis group, so yeah, you've also taken away from that character. And then we got an episode where Mocha is spending the rest of where Mocha, the outer Mocha, sacrifices her rosary and thus her own identity, and thus only the inner Mocha is left, and she starts being more social and hanging out with Tsukune and wants to actually start a relationship with Tsukune. But she never gets much around to it, and Tsukune is still having lingering feelings about the outer Mocha for reasons, yeah. And on top of that, the parents of Kurumu and Mizure, Agaha and Sarara, arrive back again to start to suggest after Tsukune graduates, he should marry one of their daughters. So yeah, that happened, and Tsukune is informed by Ruby from Mikogame that there is a way to fix the rosy and thus bring back Adamoka. But first they have to beat the Dark Lord, which turns out to be Aiza Shuzen, Mocha and Kokoa's father. Who, yeah, there's a bit of problem out there. From an adaptation standpoint, that's a huge problem because Aiza Shuzen was not a Dark Lord. He was powerful enough to be possibly considered one, since he could stay on par with him, but he was not one of the people who defeated Dracula, so he cannot be considered a Dark Lord. That was Akasha, Toha Fuhai, and Mikogame. And on top of that, they just said that it was Aiza who created the rosary so that Mocha could live amongst humans. No, that was actually Akasha, and she invented it for more than that reason. It was also to repress Mocha's Shinzo power, so it would be less likely to revive Dracula, since their Shinzo blood was synchronized with one another. And furthermore, it was also to help weaken Dracula should he ever be awakened again, which happens near the finale of Rosario Vampire Season 2 in the manga, not the anime, because they never had Dracula in the fairy tale arc stuff. And then we cut to the episode where Tsukune tries to convince Mocha's father, and they have a fight. Well, not really, it's just mostly Aiza being the shit of him. And then finally Tsukune starts using his vampire power, and it only ends up in a power struggle, and Tsukune is knocked out, and Mocha says that that her father was holding back, and if he really wanted Tsukune dead, he would have killed him on the spot. And but Tsukune actually won because he got the rosary away from him, and blah blah blah. Yeah, that really debases how badass Tsukune became in the manga, especially when he became a Shinzo vampire and was able to fight Aiza on par for about 30 seconds, more or less. But that's pretty much it.